everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Adoptions from the Heart TV. I'm your host, Amanda Aliberti. Today we are very excited because we are welcoming in Grace. Grace is an adoptee. She was placed for adoption in 1999 and was born in Vietnam. So welcome, Grace.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Can you share with our audience a little bit about your journey as an adoptee?
Yes, so I was adopted from Vietnam by my parents, Mike and Jeanette, and I told you actually earlier, they adopted me using this office in Charlie Square, so it's kind of a full circle here. And I flew home on my first birthday, and I've been living in Delaware for my entire life with them. And now, I guess just to update you and anybody who might be watching, I'm this year's Miss Delaware, so I get to support a platform or a social impact initiative of my choosing, a cause, and I've chosen adoption.
Very exciting. Well, I want to talk all about your platform as Miss Delaware and kind of what your goals are in working in adoption. But first, let's backtrack to a little bit about what life was like for you growing up. So you identify as?
Vietnamese.
Okay. And your parents, what do they identify as?
They're a mix of European, so they're just white.
They're just white.
They're just
okay.
white.
Okay. So
Italian, German, all the sorts.
So you grew up in a predominantly white area?
Yes, I grew up in Hocus, Delaware, so
Okay.
predominantly white, and then I also went to predominantly white schools growing up, elementary, middle, high school, and even college. I went to University of Delaware, graduated 2021.
Yay!
Yes, so
I'm just curious what life was like for you and kind of when you realized that I'm not white, I am Asian. When did that first happen for you?
yeah, kids have a very cruel way of making sure that you know that you're different than others, right? Kids are very honest, and so it didn't take too long for me to realize that I'm different, I'm Asian, I look different than other people, but I didn't feel different when you never do. You're growing up as a kid, you just want to have fun, have kid experiences, but I did experience a lot of bullying growing up. And there were two parts being in a transracial adoption. It's one, being an adoptee, being told that your family is different than a biological family unit, and then also growing up with white parents and not being white, it's tough to find your identity in both of those realms. So
Sure.
I definitely got bullied, and it took a while, even really just recently. I think it's a constant journey trying to find your identity and figure out who you are. I think it's tough to do that as a young woman or a young man, whatever, young adult in this world anyways, and especially if you have a different, unique background, that definitely adds to it.
Now, did mom and dad kind of support you growing up in the sense of did you have conversations about adoption? Did you feel like you could go to your parents if you were struggling? I mean, you talked about being bullied, which is a really big thing. Did they support you through those struggles?
They definitely supported me through those struggles, and it was surprising because my earlier school, elementary, didn't really address bullying in the school, and it happened with a lot of kids that I know of as well. So my parents were always open to conversations, although I didn't ask a ton of questions, but they supported me embracing my Vietnamese culture, which was really nice from a young age. I went to I think it was even though I'm Vietnamese, I believe it was a Chinese learning school, just the building, and we would have celebrations. We celebrated New Year's with other Vietnamese background children and also adoptees, so that was nice. I didn't learn I didn't keep up the Vietnamese language, but it was nice to at least be exposed to the culture and learn to appreciate it from a young age instead of shy away from it.
Now, have you ever gone back to Vietnam?
I haven't gone back,
Okay.
but I wanted to, and then the pandemic happened.
Okay.
So
And then did you or have you ever had any awareness of your biological family? Were you given any information? Have you ever had any sort of contact or information regarding?
I have not, and I haven't asked either, so it might be there. And it's been an interesting process reaching out and meeting other adoptees. Believe it or not, one of the first people that I met at our Little Miss America orientation is an adoptee as well, which was very unique because you don't come across other adoptees all too often. And we talked about reaching out to birth parents, and she actually said she has a folder where she can, find stuff that they've uploaded, and I thought that was really interesting.
Sure.
But I personally haven't had any communication.
Well, and I know sometimes it can be a little more challenging in international adoption to kind of have any sort of openness. Things are much different when you go, abroad to other countries and what they'll disclose or not. So
Right.
I can imagine that there might be some challenges to that. You just have never really been super curious, and you've kind of just been good with where you're at.
Yeah, I've been good. I mean, the curiosity has hit especially more as I've grown up
Sure.
and just wondered. But I mean, when you grow up from such a young age, I was adopted at 1, you don't feel like a sense of lackingness or like that this isn't your real family
Sure.
or that too much of that curiosity. So
Sure.
yeah.
Well, and we always say it's different for every adoptee, right? Not one
Right.
way is the right way of handling your story or your experience, and everyone kind of reacts to it in different ways. Some children grow up having that curiosity or wanting to know more and feeling like they have this void in their life, and other adoptees may grow up as you have, and it doesn't sound like you really had any moment of I really want to know more. Maybe more as you got older, but not as much.
Right, and I guess the curiosity just came from wanting to know about my life in general. So it's not because it came from a place of feeling like I was empty without the knowledge, but can understand why every adoption journey is different.
Sure. Well, take us to today, because you are wearing this beautiful crown.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your achievement of becoming Miss Delaware. When were you crowned? What are the next steps?
So I was crowned about mid-June.
Okay.
And the next steps is Miss America. And we've been preparing. It will be in December sometime. Don't know when yet. But yeah, I mean, I started with the Miss Delaware and Miss America organization when I was 14.
Okay.
And I mean, I didn't grow up doing pageants like you see on the TV and the toddlers and tiaras. Didn't do that. I was just 14, living my normal life, a little awkward. And my mom knew somebody who was what they call like a local director, someone who facilitates the local pageants, Hellcasting, Greenville, whatever that may be. And they said that they were looking for donations because at the time we supported a charity called Children's Miracle Network. And I said, I'll just donate the money, like the little money I had as 14-year-old, but I don't really want to join. But somehow they convinced me to participate in my first pageant, and I had the honor of actually winning that one. So I represented Greenville at the time, and then I went on to the state, and then I had the even bigger honor of winning that one for the state. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, and I just kind of followed that process. But it is a scholarship organization, so I won a lot of money, and I ended up going to UD without having any debt.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the platform or topic of adoption, because it sounds like that's going to be something you are headed in the direction of.
Yes, it took time to figure out what platform or social impact that I really wanted to have, because you spend your whole year advocating for this, and it felt right to pick adoption. I wasn't really sure what there was that I could do about it, so that's when I reached out to Adoptions from the Heart to see, what are the things that you're really doing that you could possibly need my help for in advocacy. And so one of my biggest things before reaching out was mostly advocating for adoption and the stigma that comes with it, especially that adoptees have to grow up with, and making sure that people hear different stories, because until you hear about someone else's experience in life or story, you won't really have empathy, or you won't understand, and it will be kind of like a taboo subject. And I think that's what it was growing up. Nobody was adopted in my elementary school, so children didn't know. Children weren't exposed to that is a normal, loving family that someone can grow up in. So half of my social impact is showing people my story, showing people, especially other adoptees, that you're not different in a bad way. You're different in a beautiful way. You're unique. You should embrace your heritage if you are from an international adoption, or embrace curiosity if you have it. And then the other part, when I reached out to Adoption from the Heart, does come with the fundraising, and I got the insight into how I can help with my platform spread the word about different fundraising initiatives that I believe when I talked on the phone, it was about helping support birth mothers and different scholarships for them. So I was definitely very interested in that as well.
Yeah, we definitely try here at the agency to provide supportive services to birth parents through our Birth Parent Fund, which is a great way for people to make donations. It's a fund that goes towards things like a birth parent struggling financially. So if they have issues paying their rent or groceries or an electric bill, they can call our agency and we can provide those donations. We also have a scholarship fund, which kind of aligns with what you're doing for Miss America over here.
Definitely. I thought that was perfect.
Yeah.
When I heard about the scholarship, I was like, that's exactly what we're going for.
Well, and I just think it's really cool in general how you are shining light on a topic that, while it's definitely less taboo than it was years ago, it's still not a super common conversation, right? So
Right.
you're giving little girls and little boys kind of the opportunity to give a face to adoption, right? And the
Yes.
experience of an adoptee.
Absolutely. And I think that's really the goal, especially as we're heading into this journey of Miss America. I mean, we've seen over time lots of different role models and representatives in the media becoming a little bit more diverse. I mean, right now we have an Asian American Miss America, but she's not adopted. So, I mean, just a little bit of representation matters and makes a difference.
Sure.
Because growing up as an Asian American, I might have seen her as a little girl and felt a little represented, but not entirely. So that's definitely my goal, is to share my story, show young girls and young boys that there are other people like them out there, and that they can grow up and feel just as comfortable as their peers.
Well, you are remarkable, Grace. We are so happy
Thank
that you
you.
were able to join us on this platform and just kind of shed light on some of the amazing work that you're doing. We wish you lots of luck with all of your wonderfulness coming up over the next few months. Sounds like December will be when the pageant is.
Yes, December. I will let people know the
Yeah.
dates, but don't know. But definitely excited for December, November, National Adoption Month.
Yeah.
And looking forward to working with you guys with anything that might come up with fundraising or helping spread the awareness for adoptions.
Absolutely. And we're honored to have Miss Grace be a part of our Adoptions from the Heart community. It sounds like things have gone full circle for you.
Yes.
And you are continuing to just move forward in life and be successful. So that's wonderful.
Thank you. And thank you for having me.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
And this is just the beginning. We're going to do more.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Grace has been wonderful. She is just a bright, shining light, and we are really excited to see what comes next for her. Continue to support Adoptions from the Heart, and we look forward to seeing the future success of Miss Delaware, Grace.